Growing up, The Simpsons was one of my favorite cartoons. One episode especially stuck with me, Season 6, Episode 13, and Maggie Makes Three. This episode used to feel like a warm, sincere expression of a parent's love, and it's still that, but it's become something more. Something profoundly depressing, and it serves as a powerful reminder and affirmation of how work can crush a person. I'm Comrade Faust, and this is the SJLA. For those unfamiliar with this show, Homer Simpson, the lovable, oafish patriarch of the titular family, works as a nuclear safety inspector, a station he serves through sleeping for most of his shift and dicking around with his friends at work. The job is all but meaningless, with his boss Monty Burns recklessly polluting the waterways and leaving open barrels of nuclear waste scattered about the plant. A bullshit, meaningless job that he despises. The episode opens with the family looking at a photo album, and his children ask why there's no picture of the baby, Maggie. Most of this episode is relayed in a flashback to a point in time where he was able to quit that job that he hates so much. He finally saves up enough money to pay off his debt, and resigns with great aplomb. Okay. Not aplomb. He does play Mr. Burns' head like a bongo drum.
Oh, I should be resisting this, but I'm paralyzed with rage.
But my point still stands.
Yeah, way to play the boss's head like a bongo, Homer!
This is a fantasy I certainly know I can relate to. Having enough money to confidently walk out of a soul-crushing job, burning all of my bridges, and not turning around. But the reality is, this cartoon gentleman is experiencing a very real scenario, or scenario if you will. Debt trapping the worker in perpetual bondage. Many of us have debts that we know we will be unable to pay, keeping us in places we hate, forcing us to pick up second jobs, third jobs, a constant weight around our necks. We know we can't leave because we're still paying off our cars, we are still paying off our student loans, and should we be ever completely free of those debts, the world might seem to open up around us just a little bit more. With Mr. Burns' head thoroughly bonked, Homer is now free to pursue his passion. He's free to pursue his dream job, working at a bowling alley. It's not a glamorous job, and it does pay significantly less than his work at the nuclear power plant, but it brings him joy. Instead of sleeping through his shift, he now takes on the work with joy and passion. Things change when you're working for love, and when you know the job means something, the work becomes closer to play. Not dissimilar from how artistic pursuits and passions might bring a person joy, and it cannot be said to be meaningless by any stretch of the word. But that's not where the money is. Or how teaching, it changes lives, and it shapes the youth of tomorrow. But it's a passion job, which means we do not have to pay it enough to survive. Because aren't they paid with passion? Don't you pay your bills with a child's smile? Can't you buy the school supplies you need to do your job that the school, for some reason, makes you pay for an inexplicable reason? But you can pay it with love, can you not? Love is, after all, a fungible resource. But these jobs, important as they may be, are underpaid, rendering them inaccessible to most people. People want to be nurses, people want to be teachers, paramedics, they want to be cooks or social workers. But many of the most qualified people either look elsewhere so they can make a better living and receive significantly more income, or they lose the passion for the work because they are not earning what they both need and deserve. Anywho's, Homer dances and sings with joy. He prays to thank God for this job. A job that might seem unromantic to most folk, but one that he does love. But like Pony Boy and Bobby Frost say, nothing gold can stay. His wife, Marge, is pregnant with a pointy-haired baby. She knows that this will mean Homer cannot keep his job. Cartoon babies do not eat songs and dances. That's just silly. You're being silly right now. You know that, right? Homer and Marge decide he should ask for a raise, but the alley cannot afford it. So Homer fires a gun in the air outside of the bowling alley to attract more customers so that he can afford the raise. See, this is a grounded and realistic maneuver. And you were talking about feeding a baby with songs? You're such a little goof. It's not a successful endeavor by any means, but it was grounded, gritty, and realistic. Just like Breaking Bad with Jesse Pinkman. My best friend, Jesse Pinkman. See, this pregnancy, Marge being pregnant, it uproots his life. His perfectly balanced life is thrown wholly off kilter, where he was once able to budget for his 2 children, Bart and Lisa, and his wife, Marge. The addition of Maggie throws a wrench in his plans. Once again, yep, Simpsons, thanks for making my cartoon too realistic, too gritty and realistic. Way to make it political, guys. Children are, and I hope this comes as no surprise to you, but children are expensive. Delivering a baby is several thousands of dollars. And then the 18 or more years of caring for that child makes the delivery look like small potatoes. If a family wants to have a baby and wants to grow their family, it should be a joyful experience. But the joy gets stolen away from them and replaced with anxiety, dread, and oftentimes desperation. It becomes a decision. Can we afford another mouth to feed? Is this a realistic opportunity that my work and my paycheck afford me?
It's wonderful. It's magical. Oh boy, here it comes, another mouth.
When the decision itself should be whether or not the family wants to and feels confident in their ability to raise a child, not whether or not they will be plunged into poverty. Families should not be a luxury. Having a family should not be a luxury. Of course, Homer has to quit, and all his bowling alley pals give him a nice jacket as a going away present, because he made a very real impact on everyone there. But he knows he has to return to the nuclear power plant, where he will make no impact on anyone. The nuclear power plant is the one place in town where he could make it. This is not an uncommon sight in any town. A few big companies being the sole providers of employment to a large swath of the city or town. Think about Amazon warehouses, or the towns with a few big factories. They set up shop and change the dynamic of the city. They start off looking like an attractive prospect, but in the end the landscape is altered, and you quickly learn that is one of a small handful of employment opportunities left. It's the one call center half the town has been employed at. It's the factory you go to when you've been fired. The pay is decent, and maybe you can move up the ladder, but you hate every minute you spend in that building. If I were a nerd, and let me be clear, I am not a nerd, I would say the jacket can be read as the joy and pride Homer earned working at that bowling alley, which is why the acid rain falling inside the gates of the nuclear power plant burned it off of him, leaving him dejected with no proof of his former happiness remaining. Just being on site took it away from him, leaving only a memory. Homer crawls on his hands and knees begging for his job back as a failure. But he did not fail. Homer was failed. But under wage labor, the effects are the same, and the difference does not matter. He is crawling either way. The same way we've all seen people crawl back, the same way I've crawled back, and the same way I hope to never crawl back again. Y'all know how these shitty jobs feel, like a punishment that will last us forever. Even if the scene changes and you're sitting in a different office, working at a different factory, or stocking shelves at a different store, you are there forever. Cool, because Mr. Burns put up a real cool plaque spelling it out for Homer. Don't forget, you're here forever. The same words you and I both hear when our boss's lips are moving, but we're just not listening. Don't forget, you're here forever. Even if we're going from the Piggly Wiggly to an Amazon warehouse, we're going from assembling dishwashers to air conditioners. It doesn't matter. You're here in the working class, in wage labor, and you are here forever. Do not forget you're here forever. Now here's the part that makes me cry. Oh, I'd say about 70% of the time. Remember when I said it was a story about the pictures of Maggie, where they're at? Homer says,
There are pictures. I keep them where I need the most cheering up.
the pictures cover the plaque, so now it simply reads, do it for her. It's sweet. It's probably my favorite moment in The Simpsons, but it's also a very upsetting idea. The only way he can get through the day-to-day drudgery is to think about his family. And by reminding himself that if he doesn't put himself through the pain of the workday, dealing with his abusive boss, the mind-numbing repetitive tasks, and the dangerous work conditions, he will not be able to take care of his family. He will not be able to take care of Maggie. It was possible to find joy in work. He had it. But for her, it is gone. As sweet as it is, it depresses me because of just how accurate a reflection of the real world it is. That we as the working class must constantly remind ourselves why we are putting ourselves through abhorrent working conditions. And a very real and ever-present reason is that we do not want ourselves, or more importantly, our loved ones, to starve. Thanks for joining me on my very cool Simpsons video. If you liked it, why don't you go ahead and jam on that like button. If you want to see more videos by me and my cool friends, give that bell a little slap. If you want to listen to some hot fire, some real cool tracks, check out Catch Hell on Bandcamp. Terrible Broseph has contractually obligated me to say that he only makes bangers. The new album drops on the 30th, and I'm very excited to that. I'm first in line. If you want some thoughtful discussion with creators, some real cool interviews, check out The Precariat on Spotify. Kami Trucker makes it, I've been on it, Brosep's been on it. It's a fantastic listen. And thank you, Edge, for editing this video. Your talents make this channel. I'm so lucky to have you here, and so is everyone else. The links to those projects are in the description, as well as our TikToks, where we've met and became best friends on the TikTok. You must follow us. Thank you very much.